Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors. My name's Tom Novak, and today is March 29th of 2022. It's Tuesday, 29 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 2 degrees Celsius. We got a wind chill of 19 degrees Fahrenheit, or a minus 7 degrees Celsius. Today we're going to do a revival strategy to help you out with your plants. I'm going to show you the Pereskia, the Bursera, and the rose cactus on how am I going to revive some of them. We're going to use deep water with Dr. Earth at a 021 formula that I use. This is Dr. Earth right here that I use to start off my roots. But it's usually like, I think it's 4 tablespoons per gallon, but I'm only going to use 1 teaspoon per gallon to get it started. And with the deep water revival, I usually put the pot like here and then cover with water so all the air bubbles get out. And for some facts from the old Farmer's Almanac, I like to read that. We got 84 days till summer. Doesn't feel like it out there. It's cold. That wind is fierce at times, but it's cold. And believe it or not, Niagara Falls actually stopped flowing due to an ice floe in 1848, and that's the first recorded stop of Niagara Falls in history. 1848 because of an ice jam. So that's something to think about. Okay, so let's get started. Let's quit messing around. Now this little guy, this is my Pereskia, and you can see the color on this. It goes from pink to yellow and then to green, but you can see the trunk that's developing on it. It's got a nice curved trunk on it, and it's still wet, so I'm not going to water this one. But you can see the thorns on this. So if you're going to use this as a bonsai, watch out for the thorns. And you can see where I clipped it, and it just sprouted out and started growing. Now here's my, let's see if I can get it. The Bursera, there it is. It's starting to grow. Let's take some of the dead leaves off. And that you can see how it's starting to come up. That's the trunk. A little messy, but what are you going to do? And it's still wet, so I'm not going to deep water this. But I think you can see the root starting to take off on it. So they do develop a nice little root system. And there's nothing growing out of the bottom. But that's one of our little guys. Now, here is a tree rose. Tom, you're going to say, Tom, it's dead looking. Well, look at the needles on it. But you know what I'm going to do? Because it won't fit in this bucket. If I had a bigger bucket to show you in clear, then I'd do it. But what I'm going to do right now is just dip and then just clip it back to the furthest dry spot. Let me get it down here so you can see it. I'm going to clip it to the furthest dry spot right here. And I'm just going to go down to here. And that means it's starting to dry a little bit. And right above a node here. And that's it. Now, you're going to say, this is super dry. The water's going to run right off. So what do? You got to really take the surface tension out of it. I'm going to water the living daylights out of it just to get it started here. And then I got my Mr. Hawes sprinkling can, and I got my Dr. Earth in here. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of watering. Now, no, I do not use straight tap water. I don't have rainwater because I don't have room for all of that. So how do I make my water chlorine and chloramide free? There's plenty of solutions you can get out at the pet shops and the tropical fish stores that sell fish. I use the Prime. And it gets rid of chlorine, chloramines, detoxifies ammonia, nitrates, and nitrites, whatever's in the water that you don't want. But see, that's all I'm going to do is give it a nice little soak in there. Just like that. Now let's see on the other tree rose, or on our other rose cactus. So what I'm going to do is, it's starting to grow, but you can see it's a lot of dead stuff there. So all I'm going to do, dip and clip, and we're just going to go above where it's just by the dead part here. Clip it at a 45, clip this off. Now you can see these little cactus, they get a good trunk on them. Besides thorns, they get a good trunk. Okay, so let's get our bucket out. And I'll show you what we're going to do. Now this one is still wet. Now we can see if it'll go through, but I'm going to show you on this one here, because there's a lot of them. In the wintertime, they dry out something fierce in the basement, but there is still some green in it. And on this one, it might be dead, it might not be dead. I don't know, but we're going to give it a deep watering. Now this one has a lot of water in it, so all we're going to do is just cut it above the dead part, right there, and cut this off. Now these are resilient trees, the cactuses, the bonsai, because as you can see on this one, the fabulous trunk it gets on it. It gets a nice thick trunk. I mean, it's a little off, but that's the way it grew. So no repotting yet because there's no roots coming out. So let's get my mixture of Dr. Earth here. And all I'm going to do is fill this up. Just like that. They're saying, Tom, that's a lot of water. Yep, that's a lot of water. But you're going to need it. So what I do is, I'm going to take this and put it till it just covers. And this one here, I'm going to do the same thing. Just put it in until it just covers it. And you can see the bubbles coming out. I don't know if you can see the bubbles. But that's all the air coming out of them. Right there's that one. That one's just done. So you got to do that to take the surface tension out. Because when you get a lot of surface tension in there, the soil contracts away from the pot. So if this is your pot and your soil's here, when it gets too dry, it starts to break away and it gets so compact it doesn't. So no matter how much you water it, the water's flowing out. Yeah, but it's not going into the root system because it's so tight in there. So once all the air bubbles come out, like on this one here, you let it drain real good. Just like that. And let's get this out of the way. Now this one here, the air bubble stopped, and I got the water that much above the pot, because you want all that pressure to release all the air that's trapped inside your root system. There we go. Now this is gonna take off pretty good. So we're just gonna let it drip dry a little bit, just like that. We'll put it back on here so it drains real good. And after that, everything will take off. I'm just gonna give my other the Pereskia a little bit of a watering there. And this guy here, that's wet, just a tad to get the roots going. Now this one here is dry as a bone, but it's too high. So all I'm going to do is give it a squirt. And then give it a weak solution. There we go. Now this is hopefully is going to help stimulate the roots. So we'll see what happens on them. But that's what I do to get everything that's drying out, to try to get it back into shape. We'll see how this one is. After a while, we'll see if it'll sprout anything new on here or over here, because you can see all the buds on it. And this guy this summer, I'm going to still let him grow. Maybe top it off a little bit later on, about to there, once spring starts, to get it going. But you don't really have to repot these that often. And hopefully this little guy will take off. So we'll give it a shot. So don't forget the Old Farmer's Almanac. You can give it a shot, give it a look. All that water's not going to go to waste, because I'm going to put it on the mangroves. They're still not growing. They're still pukey looking. And the cuttings, see, in the wintertime, cuttings don't do too good. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't in the basement. But we'll see. Same thing with the ficus. We'll see what happens there. And then after that, I'll show you what I'm going to do to the Fabians, because they were, even though I potted them, I should have left them in the pot, not thinking, because their root systems really weren't that strong. But I'll show you what they look like, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to try to help them to take off and start to grow again. So before the old tablet clock winds down, today is Tuesday. And what happened on Tuesday besides Niagara Falls stopped flowing? In 1932, Jack Benny's radio show first premiered. So, Jack, I'm going to turn on some old-time radio with your programs on, give them a good listen tonight with a nice hot cup of tea. Sit back and relax, and don't be afraid to try stuff. I mean, if you think they're dead, give them a chance. Give them a nice deep watering, still dripping out, and just let it drain completely, and then put it back. But that's the only thing you can really do to help them revive. And a very low concentration of Dr. Earth helps out, but you got to mix it. And I take all the chlorine out with this, and this is like let's see, a half an ounce to a gallon of water. So I got my little pipette there, if you can see it, to give me a good measuring. And that way there, even if you got a little bit more than a half ounce, it's still good. It's still going to take it out. It's not going to hurt your plants. And the reason why I use that is because I got beneficial bacteria in there. So if I put water with chlorine in there, it's going to kill all my bacteria. So that's what I do. And then later on, in the spring, I'll get the wettable powder, mix it up per gallon, and just put it in all the containers, give them a good watering, and that should do it. So let's wind down fast. Jack Benny, old time radio, hot cup of tea, stay warm. I mean, old man winter does not want to leave us. So you take care, everybody. Even though it's spring, winter is still here. Have a great day and enjoy that hot cup of tea and old Jack Benny radio show tonight. Tom.